Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another deep dive into the tumultuous world of Sino-US economic relations. Today, we're peeling back the layers of one of the most crucial battlegrounds between these two superpowers, semiconductors, the heart and soul of the digital age, and the new oil of our times. The Biden administration, seemingly gearing up for what can only be described as an all-out war on China's technological rise, is considering more restrictions on semiconductor equipment and AI memory chips. But we must ask, is this a smart step toward securing national security and ensuring American tech supremacy, or are we just pouring gasoline on a fire that will backlight a far larger economic crisis? Hold on to your seats because we're about to dissect the matter layer by layer, starting with the surface, focusing on recent market actions and sanctions proposals, then driving deep into the broader economic and geopolitical fault lines that are beginning to quake. Let's begin with the market response to the rumors of these new sanctions. Of course, it's crucial to note that this is not yet set in stone. However, such is the nature of global finance that the mere whiff of new restrictions can send waves through the international equities market. As the news rippled through Asia, Japanese chip stocks surged. Tokyo Electron Limited spiked 10%, Kokusai Electric Corporation shot up by 23%, and Screen Holdings followed suit with a roughly 10% gain as well. This rally reflects a global market instinctively recognizing that Asian semiconductor manufacturers may see a potential windfall due to the tightening noose around Chinese firms. But wait. While these foreign corporations may stand to benefit in the short term, we must face the uncomfortable fact that American chip equipment makers, like Lam Research Corporation, Applied Materials Incorporated, and KLA Corporation, could lose big time. These US-based giants have been lobbying fiercely against additional restrictions on China, warning that curtailing access to the world's largest demand center for semiconductors may irrevocably damage their business. The irony, right? US companies, desperate to maintain profitability in China, advocating almost in tandem with Beijing. When lobbyists argued that such moves would place American businesses at a disadvantage, particularly relative to foreign competitors, they weren't wrong. The Biden administration is playing a dangerous game of geopolitics with the livelihoods of key American industry leaders, and any misstep could result in dire economic consequences for the domestic chip sector. Now, here's the kicker: why now? We are witnessing an intensification of measures originally spearheaded by the previous Trump administration with an aim to cripple China's access to advanced technologies. Chip wars have become, in many ways, the Cold War of the 21st century. Cutting China off from vital semiconductor technologies is seen by Washington as a necessary move to slow down Beijing's ambition to dominate the fields of AI, 5G, and other data-driven industries of the future. Unlike oil and natural resources, which have traditionally underpinned geopolitical conflicts, today semiconductor chips are the strategic asset. Without access to cutting-edge chips and the tools needed to produce them, the US is betting China's technological advancement, especially in AI and military applications, will be hamstrung. But here's the million-dollar question: will these moves work? Or worse, will they backfire? Let's take a closer look at the potential ripple effects this ongoing crackdown may have on the global economy. On a surface level, one might think Washington is safeguarding its lead in high-tech products. However, beyond the boardrooms in Silicon Valley, real damage in real economies is quietly brewing. The US is playing a high-stakes game here. The imposed restrictions are designed to obstruct Chinese tech firms from accessing the most advanced semiconductor tools, potentially setting back China's ambitious tech development plans by years, even decades. But wait, there's a flip side no one's talking about enough. Restricting sale of cutting-edge technology to China also forces Beijing to double down on its efforts to become self-sufficient in semiconductor production, something they're already doing with massive government subsidies and an extensive state-led push into R&D. You think China is just going to stand still and accept this? No. Think of Longshin, Longsan, CPUs and Changxian Memory Technologies Incorporated, two homegrown firms now furiously working to catch up in areas traditionally dominated by Western firms. They're already delivering progress on AI memory chips, and while they may be behind technologically for now, this harsh restriction could push them to close the gap sooner than later. The client base for many US, Japanese, and European chip manufacturers and equipment providers includes Chinese companies. SMIC, Huawei, and others represent a multi-billion-dollar industry that, if severed completely, will create massive supply chain disruptions. Japanese and Dutch counterparts are positioning to fill the void left by American sanctions, especially as more relaxed EU and Japanese measures translate to lucrative contracts and long-term partnerships within China. Japan, as a key example, is sitting pretty with Tokyo Electron Limited as well as ASML's cutting-edge photolithography systems, the crucial links in semiconductor manufacturing. Some American officials have attempted to drag Japan and the Netherlands into stricter sanctions, but neither Tokyo nor The Hague seems overly enthusiastic. Why? Because their tech companies stand to gain by staying inside China's market. This leads us to a larger point: as American firms get sidelined, their foreign competitors may entrench themselves further into Chinese supply chains. So in a sense, the US sacrifice, if executed poorly, may not curb China's tech growth but instead simply create new geopolitical allegiances and opportunities for others. Then, let's direct our attention to a more existential question: is Washington really ready to absorb the blowback if China decides to retaliate? China plays a leading role in several key industries, producing many tech components essential to global markets, from batteries to rare earth elements vital for electronics. Beijing hasn't flexed much in retaliation yet, but if push comes to shove, expect nothing less than a mutually assured downturn in tech sectors worldwide. Despite the heavy sanctions against Huawei and other Chinese firms, these companies are far from defeated. Huawei even recently released a 5G smartphone with a cutting-edge Kirin chip technology despite being under US sanctions for years. This persistence signals China's intent: if you've cut them off from your market, they'll just build their own. Economically, the US might actually be stoking the fires of Chinese innovation. If Chinese firms eventually catch up, American companies may lose more than market share. They could see the sun set on their global tech dominance. Managing the fallout of China's rise in semiconductors is one of the trickiest balancing acts the Biden administration faces in foreign economic policy. The reason being that the semiconductor wars aren't just about technology, they're about maintaining economic power and geopolitical influence. Herein lies the dangerous forest amidst these trees. US policymakers hope to kneecap China's technological rise now to avoid confronting what could be a significantly more powerful and aggressive player later. Make no mistake, this technology standoff is not just about consumer electronics but builds upon critical military application concerns. AI chips today could fuel autonomous drones and cyber weapons tomorrow. But at what cost to the US economy? Already, predictions suggest the global semiconductor market could lose hundreds of billions from these self-imposed disruptions. If the US loses semiconductor market share internationally under these sweeping national security justifications, we may be crippling ourselves in an attempt to cripple our competition. So here we stand, folks. Caught in the middle of a semiconductor Cold War, watching two juggernauts, the US and China, duke it out on the world stage. Washington's habit of treating complex economic issues like a game of geopolitical chess is starting to have real-world consequences. Will these restrictions hit the target? Or implode on our own economic dynamite? In the end, time will tell. But in the meantime, both US industries and our economy's future are strapped for a roller coaster. Stay tuned and keep a sharp eye on those markets. This has been a breakdown of one of the most intense topics today in the world economy.